Happy Friday. It's Black Friday today. Everyone out shopping and spending a bunch of money. The last thing I'm thinking about today is spending money. What I'm actually thinking about is being excellent at what I do, being the best. What I think a lot of us, including myself, tend to underestimate a great deal of the time is how much time are we putting into skill development? How much time are we putting into getting better and more efficient at everything that we do? Yesterday I talked about the personal audit. Well, it's fine to have a personal audit and know those things that we need to do. But what is the daily application that we're putting in? How much work are we putting in? How much effort are we putting in to get better? See, you can go to college, that does a lot for you, but at the end of the day, that's only teaching you how to strengthen your mind and, pump out work and make you, mentally tough. But with mental toughness comes great responsibility at the same time, because you have to be working on the right stuff. And you have to be putting in the work that you have to put in versus like school or something like that, or a job. If you want to be great at something, those levels of work is nothing. 40 hours a week at a job, if you want to be great at something, you're going to have to put in more than 40 hours a week. You're probably going to be looking at 100 hours a week, 80 to 100 hours a week. And then, let's talk about greatness. Greatness, mastery, 10,000 hours is what they say. 10,000 hours. So, as I said on the other video, how many hours are you going to put in to get to 10,000? If you're doing 40 a week and there's someone that's in the same exact field that you're in, hustling, going after the same exact thing that you're going after, if they're even putting in 60, they may get there a lot quicker than you. And there's other things that I don't bring up all the time, but I do bring them up, but I don't talk about them at the same time that I'm talking about things like this, say like this kind of topic. But there's ways to obviously enhance output through the use of a team or through the use of others versus like our own personal skills package and whatnot. But it's awesome to have a great team. I'm not saying that it's not, but the greater you are, the greater the team is. So let's not talk about collective mastery, because yes, if we consider ourselves part of a team can get to mastery a lot quicker than one person. If I have just myself working up against an entire team of people doing the same exact thing I'm doing, myself, unless I have a great deal of nostalgia and marketability or whatnot, it's going to be a pretty tough road, because more people, can put out, if each person on the team, the opposing team, is putting in the same amount of work I'm putting in, each person, then, there you go. They're going to run me out of the park. But this is the thing. Take your skill development seriously, and take the amount of hours that you are putting into your growth seriously, because if you're not willing to expand yourself as far as like I've said before, when your eyes are watering and you have a headache and your brain is tired and you really don't want to take in any more information, you really don't want to do any more work, or your feet hurt or whatever, if it's your dream, then you need to think about those other people that have the same dream. Because I'm not saying that we need to compete, but if you're trying to be great, then even if your road is just matching someone else's knowledge base or matching their work ethic, that's not competition. That's just that they set the bar. You're just trying to get to the level that they're at. So look at it that way. Find someone, as I've said before, because this is what's important about life. These basic skills are what builds a happy life. Find someone who's doing great and follow their lead. you know, and just, don't make it harder than it needs to be. It's hard work. That's what it is. People have asked me before, how do you do all this stuff? Because I understand that it's all about hard work. I had a paper out when I was a kid and it demolished me. I had to get up and do it every day. So I understand since a young age, if you want to be good at anything, or a job or whatever it is, a career, anything, a business, it's an everyday thing. I've had a business in the past. I don't want to talk about it because it failed, but I had a business in the past. I got up and did it every day, and that's what it takes, because the business, if you don't work for someone else, you have to make, your work ethic and your output and your complexity of mind and finding ways to develop customers and activate customers, and I can go on and on and on about that stuff, but this is supposed to be about happiness, and I am sharing ideas that can make you happy, but you have to apply your own realities and whatnot to the stuff, but the basics are there. Okay, so as I've said before, take it or leave it. I'm doing the videos because I care. It's as simple as that. Happy Friday.